There is no more dangerous place on the road for motorcyclists than intersections. This week on MCrider, we'll talk about intersections and the 5 top reasons why it's the most likely place for you to have a serious motorcycle crash. First, let's define what an intersection is. Most people, when they think of intersections, they think of something like this. Well, this is an intersection, but it's far from the only type of intersection. So let's define what an intersection actually is. An intersection is any point where 2 roads meet or cross each other. So what is a road? Well, a road is any paved or unpaved path that vehicles travel on. So a road could be something like this, or it could also be a driveway from a house, because a driveway is a paved or unpaved path that vehicles travel on. A road could be the exit from a parking lot. Parking lots often have exit paths for vehicles to travel on. So since the word road has a lot of meanings, an intersection by definition has a much broader understanding than what we give it credit for. So when we enter into a discussion on intersections, let's be clear that we're talking about a lot more scenarios where things can go wrong than what we typically think about when we're discussing intersections. Here's why intersections are such a hot spot for negative activity for motorcycles. And let's get the big one out of the way right off the top. Intersections have an extremely high percentage of fatal motorcycle crashes. Depending on the source that you use, about 42% of all fatal motorcycle crashes occur at intersections. Remember, intersections are anywhere where 2 or more roads converge. So it could be a traffic light controlled intersection, could be an exit from a parking lot, or a car pulling out of their driveway out on the street when you're riding through town, or even out on some country road where at times it can be more dangerous because you're typically riding at a higher rate of speed in those scenarios. All of these areas account for about 42% of all riders who die on their motorcycle. Now that we know what intersections are and the extreme danger they pose, let's look at why they carry so much risk. First is left turn collisions. Cars making a left turn in front of a vehicle is one of the greatest life threats to riders on 2 wheels. And if you live in a lot of the European countries where you ride on the other side of the road, it would be a car making a right-hand turn in front of you. This particular scenario is especially dangerous because of the rate of speed the collision occurs at and the angle of impact for the collision. It's usually either a head-on or directly into the bumper or the side of the other vehicle. Remember, cars have airbag seat belts and crumple zones, and on a motorcycle, you are the crumple zone. Protective gear does help here, especially wearing a helmet, but there's only so much blunt force trauma that we can subject the human body to, whether you've got gear on or not. So aside from wearing a full-face helmet, there's some newer protective gear that has been passed down from our MotoGP circuits that I'm really in favor of, and that's an airbag jacket or vest. Now, personally, I've never ridden with either one of those, an airbag jacket or vest, but you don't have to watch too many high-speed crashes in a MotoGP race and understand the benefit of having that type of protective gear. And I'm curious, I know a few of you have mentioned in the comments in the past that you ride with the airbag vest in your daily riding, but has anyone actually crashed while wearing one? If so, I'd love to hear your story down in the comments. So if you've got an airbag vest or jacket and you've actually had a dismount while wearing that, I would love to hear what your thoughts are on the technology after actually having a crash with it. It would be an interesting read for me, and I'm sure a lot of the viewers. Blind spots. Intersections create blind spots. Blind spots for you as the rider and for other vehicles that we can only hope are trying to see us in the first place. Blind spots are twofold at intersections. We can be riding in a blind spot, so sometimes we position our motorcycle right next to a car, and that creates a blind spot for a vehicle sitting further up at the intersection. Blind spots can also occur when, a car is hidden from us as we approach the intersection. So we have to be both aware of the blind spots that we create heading into intersections and the potential blind spots that hide other vehicles as we head into those intersections. And this requires us to keep in mind see and be seen. So where can I position myself on the road so that I'm going to be able to see what's going on around me and making myself the most visible to other traffic around me as well. But remember, if I have to choose one of those two, if I have to choose either how well can I see or how well can I be seen to the traffic around me? Personally, I'm always going to take how well can I see, because I'm not going to trust the other drivers around me to do the right thing. I want to be in a position where I can see and I can control the scenario in as much as my ability to do so. So this requires some strategy and some self-awareness, and it also negates the ability to simply ride through an intersection with little self-awareness or no plan of action. A rider has always got to be aware, especially when riding into and through intersections. Misjudging speed and distance. Motorcycles are hard to see. They're even more difficult for drivers to judge their distance and their approach speed. Motorcycles have a very small profile on the road. This makes them very hard to see, and because of the size of their profile, it makes them harder for the driver to determine their approach speed to the intersection. You know, that's one of the big disadvantages for riders who ride excessively over the speed limit. As a rider, we're already getting to the intersection quicker than the car expects us to, and we're at an even a greater disadvantage when we double or even triple our approach speed because we're speeding on the roadway. Driver inattention. You know, driver inattention has always been an issue. When I started riding, it might be the driver fumbling through their stack of 8-track tapes to find the latest Stevie Miller or the early Van Halen 8-track that they wanted to put in their console. But today it's much worse. With the advent of smartphones, not only are drivers more distracted and more often distracted, they're distracted for longer periods of time than just shuffling through some tapes to get into the 8-track player. You know, as riders, we can try to raise awareness to that problem of distracted driving, but we also have to take care of ourselves on the road and be aware that distracted driving is not going to go away anytime soon. We've already mentioned several proactive things that we can do to protect ourselves on the road, and this helps us with distracted driving as well. Be aware of our surroundings, stay out of blind spots, and look for potential blind spots that other drivers may be in. Keep our speed in check, and take responsibility for our own safety. You know, I never want to put myself in a position on the road, if I can help it, where I'm totally dependent on the drivers around me to do the right thing. If I expect them to make mistakes, especially at intersections where it's most deadly for me, I'm in a much better position to deal with their mistakes when they make them, and they will make them. Trust me on that one. Till next week, guys, it's Ken with MCrider, and I'll see you on the road. There's a whole lot more to MCrider than just the weekly videos. Go to mcrider.com/member. You'll get instant access to the forums and the field guide. You get ad-free MCrider videos and a whole lot more. Go to mcrider.com/member for all the details.